Welcome to Transforming Lives. I'm your host, Tony Kimball, and we're talking to genuine people with real lives, and there's no different for today. Our mission is to allow people from our world to share their stories to encourage others to live a transformed life. And this morning, I'm excited about my next guest that I have on that's sitting in the background, excited to come on. Our next guest is a strategic thinker, a leader for such a time as this. He's the founder and leading pastor of Connect Church. Now, Connect Church is a vibrant ministry that impacts all people of all ages, socioeconomic classes, and ethnic backgrounds. He has developed a culture of transformation that describes and explains philosophies of ministry and business. And look, he's an educated gentleman. He has a bachelor's of science degree from Southern Arkansas University, and also he has a master's in biblical studies and a doctorate of divinity from Penn Biblical Studies Institute in Houston, Mississippi, Houston, Texas, not Mississippi, but in Texas. This gentleman, look, through the vehicle of Pastor Dr. Marcus Dudley, I was able to meet this gentleman. He's just a genuine guy. He's a husband, he's a father, he's a grandfather as well. And my time that I had with him, it was just genuine. And to have him on, I'm extremely thankful and excited about our conversation that we're going to have on this morning. So again, if you're planning on commenting, give Facebook permission so that I can post what your comments are. So without further ado, I'd like to bring to the stage my next guest, Dr. Charles Simmons Jr.
Hey, man, how are you?
I am well. How are you doing, sir?
Man, I'm doing good. I can't complain. Thank you for having me on. It's such a pleasure to be with you, Tony, and transforming lives. Quick question. Are you able to hear me okay? I was toggling between mics and don't know which one is the best.
No, I'm hearing you well. Okay. I hear you well. No, I understand.
Right, good deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you well. Yeah.
Good deal.
So cool. So when we think about transforming lives, there's usually someone that impacts our lives. And usually I try to warm up with asking you the question, tell me about, I usually say 3, but if there's more, who are some, most influential people in your life and how did they impact you?
Yeah. Let's see, trying to boil it down to 3 probably is a little bit more difficult, but I've actually, been blessed to really kind of have some very impactful people and very influential people in my life of all, I guess during all stages. I think number one, outside of, God himself, number one, I probably would just certainly say my mom. My mom has always been like probably one of the strongest people, if not the strongest person that I know. She, when her and my father divorced when I was around 9 years old, and I just kind of watched her, man, work 2-3 jobs to support 3 boys. And to do our best to make sure that things didn't fall through the cracks. And so we had a very, good and strong upbringing because of my mom. And then my mom remarried, and once she remarried, then I kind of got blessed because then I had 2 dads. My dad, James Taylor, and then my biological dad, Charles Simmons Sr. And so both of them has been pivotal in my life. And my pastor, Dr. Darius Daniels, has probably been, just as relates to going into adulthood or ministry wise, going into ministry, and just leadership and being the best that I can as relates to being husband, father, pastor, things of that nature, and just leadership wise. Definitely Dr. Darius Daniels. So those have probably been the most influential people in my life as far as like pivoting and shifts that has happened in my life.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, you named 2 dynamic people. So I don't know your mom as well, but listening to you as you were explaining that particular progression of your life, I could tell. Yeah, moms, they make it happen, man.
Yeah, they make it happen, man. Yo, they got a special juice for real. Yeah. Like they got a different kind of strength for real.
Yeah. And definitely we know Pastor D is, we know, right? Yeah, we know it is definitely it's transformational when you're around them and to experience leadership too. So definitely. Yeah.
And he just kind of introduced really like the whole idea of like just transformation and just and like the whole idea of like the culture which we try to establish even within our ministries, the culture of excellence and things of that nature. He just really kind of introduced that to my life and really drilled in the importance of biblical substance and being sound with those things, and kind of really gave me, I guess, that push or that desire, that hunger to further education and things of that nature, and try to be a master as much as you can of your craft.
Absolutely, absolutely. So with those two influential people, so my next question is, did you see Dr. Simmons, Charles Simmons, becoming the person he is today? Tell us about it.
No.
Okay, no, all right.
No, man, absolutely not. Yeah, when I grew up I grew up in Marshall, Texas. Born in Longview, Texas, grew up in Marshall, Texas. And my parents did a great job at trying to hide some of, or shadowing some of the struggles that we were experiencing in life. There were times, we struggled a lot, but there are times as kids that we didn't necessarily know. It wasn't until we kind of got older and started understanding things and things of that nature. So, but my parents raised me up really well, gave me a great upbringing, raised me up. Kept me in church, even though I was just in church. That's it. Necessarily accepted Jesus or anything like that. Yeah, but just church. And but even though they raised me well, I still chose a path that led down a lifestyle that was certainly contrary to what my parents had raised me in. And so I got in a lot of I played football, and football was kind of my outlet. But on the outside, there was a whole different lifestyle that was going on. And so got in a lot of trouble with that, a lot of kicked out of school with that, kicked out of college.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, man, I got in a lot of trouble. I was fighting all the time, and got in a lot of trouble in the streets, and ultimately it trickled down, followed me in school. And so I got kicked out of school. Eventually, through God's grace, I was able to get back in through a program called the MAC at that time. And that's where it was like an accelerated program to kind of help you catch up with your credits and things of that nature. But it wasn't even on the campus. You weren't even supposed to be allowed to be on the high school campus. Yeah. And so eventually I was able to do that, catch up with my credits and things of that nature, and walk with my class. I graduated with my class, but then I took that same mentality on to college. Even though I had these scholarships to play football and things of that nature, I still took that same mentality on to college. Got in a lot of trouble in college, and eventually it caught up with me again. Here I am, the starting linebacker for Southern Arkansas University. At that time, man, I got kicked out of school. And it is like the same cycle was following me again. So ultimately I get kicked out of school there, and the president, like, I'm gonna tell you how bad it was. You aren't supposed to be able to go anywhere for at least a year once you're suspended out of college. I got suspended, and the president wrote me a letter saying you can go anywhere, just get out of here. Yeah. So, man, and this followed like a number of things. I had gotten all kind of trouble on my football team, and it was crazy, man. It was crazy. I had football talent, but it's just doing these things, and again, just living this lifestyle. It's kind of contrary to how I was brought up. Right. And so it was just a lifestyle that I chose, and eventually got kicked out, but got into a school called TJC, which was Tyler Junior College, using that letter. And I got into school there, and ultimately, that's during that tenure of being kicked out was really kind of one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it was during that time that I was invited to a church, Hope, Glory, and Truth, Texas. And that's when I really had an authentic encounter with Jesus Christ, and gave my life over to the Lordship of Christ. And it just changed my life from that point on, just being able to have that relationship with God.
Man. Yeah, so now I'm listening to this. Now I'm an old football coach. So you were one of them linebackers. That you were.
Oh, absolutely. I was a headhunter. Man, you're not gonna believe this, but this is absolutely true, man. I was the and Texas football, Texas football
Right,
is a whole nother world, right?
right,
And
absolutely, yeah.
I was literally the number 2 recruited linebacker in the state of Texas. Yeah, I was. We were headhunters, man. Shout out to my linebacker coach, Dr. Dennis Williams, man, who just passed away this week. God rest his soul, and I'm praying for his wife, Ruth, and their children. But man, when I tell you, he raised us up to play what he called no moss football. I
Right.
mean, no mercy,
Yeah.
and really taught us. And that was really pivotal in my life, though, because I want to say that was he really drilled into us the importance of like following through and not giving
Yeah.
up, like going all the way through, not just
Yeah.
stopping at that point, but pushing all the way through. And I think a lot of that I carry with me even with some of the things that I do today.
Okay, awesome, man. Yeah, yeah. I think I remember you playing football, uh, but those details of it, I don't know. So I've been updated. I'm updating my system now. So
Yeah. Yeah,
so
man.
yeah, yeah. So we've heard, you were like, man, I didn't know I was going in this particular place in my life. A lot of things happened, but at this particular point, I had this moment of just realizing, hey, I need to make this turn.
Yeah.
So, did you always think that you would be in leadership like you are now?
No, especially not with, how can I put it? Not with the intentional desire, right?
Mm,
That I have now. Like I pretty much, even in football, in one ways, whether it was indirect or direct, or whether it was recognized by me or not, I've always found myself like in leadership roles. But it really wasn't until I began like my journey in football and
mm,
being my coach, like trusting in me to lead the teams in certain things, conversations and devotions and things of that nature, and then leading them out into certain things that kind of began for me to start identifying
yeah.
that people were actually listening to me, cared about what I said, and was actually following some of the things that I said. And then as I began this journey later in life, to start and plant churches and really started helping organizations with their retention rates and things of that nature.
Mm.
That's when I think I really started experiencing the pain of the lack of leadership.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, the
gotcha.
lack of leadership structure, the pain of that, and what that and the consequences of not having good leadership. And that's probably when I really began to dive and move from just the identity of it, meaning like calling myself a leader or acting out as a leader, and really started studying leadership and developing leadership systems and things of that nature to not just help me, right? To not continue
Yeah.
to suffer from that pain,
Right, right. Yeah, 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 yeah,
but
yeah.
to also help others become all that they can be, and to help organizations hopefully not have to go through it as much as I did, if with the assistance of myself, or being pointed in the right direction.
Right. Yeah, yeah. So that man, you said a lot in that. I wanted because there's a lot in that one, man. So give me one lesson that in leadership that you think everyone should learn at this point in their lives.
Okay. Oh man. At this. Oh, okay. So I would say this. I would say this is universal. Then
Okay.
I would say that the lesson of influence,
Okay.
because and the reason why I said it, because different those that may be listening to this are at different stages, right? And then
Yeah.
sometimes so I would say the lesson of influence, being like understanding that, recognizing that, and everyone should learn that no matter what stage you're in, my 10-year-old son needs to understand he has influence even at that age. And what you do with that often determines the payout, right? That comes back to you, but also the harvest that grows, in a sense, that comes up in other people's lives. It doesn't matter what stage you are on. It doesn't matter what age you are. In one way or another, you have influence. A child, even a child may not recognize this. A newborn baby has influence without even knowing it.
Yeah.
A newborn baby tells mom and dad, I know you want to get some sleep, but get up. I'm hungry.
Right. Yeah.
I'm ready to eat.
That's a great analogy right there. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what stage you're in. I think all of us need to understand influence and the cost of it. Influence is something that's been entrusted into all of us, and what you do with that influence is we have the freedom to choose what we do with that influence. But what you do with that influence oftentimes can make or break the entities that you're involved in, relationships that you are involved in, and impact society in ways that I don't think everyone necessarily understands or is able to recognize right off.
Man, listen, man, you started off the back talking about leadership is influence.
It is.
And you broke it down, man, so that from a baby standpoint, where a baby has influence, that baby is thank goodness that my boys are getting up there, so I don't have to worry about that baby stuff. But
yeah, thank God, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, so
yeah, we're both from that stage.
Right. Woo, yeah. So you began earlier, I asked you a question earlier about the, in terms of, seeing yourself where you are now, influence the people that have influenced your life. So now I want to ask, like, what is one of the most important lessons you've learned, like over your career, up until this point in your career?
That's a good question. It's crazy because with leadership, like there are so many lessons you learn along the way. When I used to, of course, serve in New Jersey under my pastor, under Pastor Darius Daniels, and at Change Church, and that was just an incredible opportunity for leadership wise. And one of the things that I learned as SOPs and things of that nature was developed.
Yeah,
is that a lot of SOPs were developed not because someone went into a room and just started dreaming up stuff. A lot of SOPs were developed because of things that happened, and they didn't want to experience the pain of that happening again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So we got to put a standard of procedure in place so that we could at least have some type of standard to go by. And so there are a number of things you learn. But I want to say, so with that, and I guess I would say up until now, it doesn't matter whether I'm helping out a business, a church, an organization, or even my own personal life or my family. I want to say probably the lessons I learned is the importance of organization. And this is one thing. So our structure.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is it doesn't mean that you have to be a super organized person.
Yeah.
Meaning like, it doesn't necessarily mean that, but it does mean that you should never settle for not being just at the expense of
Gotcha. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It saves you time. It saves. Today I was thinking about this. I was how just last year I remember getting in I was thinking about I got a new vehicle recently and it has a push start.
Yeah.
So now all I gotta do is just have my keys in my pocket or something like that. Go to the car. I don't gotta worry about pulling it out, wrestling with it. I just as long as I'm in the vicinity, I can open up my door. I can turn on the car. As long as the key is in the vicinity, right? And I know that it's close by what comes out. And but I remember another vehicle that I had, and I could not find the key anywhere. I didn't have it. I wasn't putting the key in the same place, and because of that, I wasted all this time, all these minutes looking for the key, and the key the whole time was in my backpack that was in the vehicle.
Man,
so just not being organizing, putting things in the same place to save time. Even with the organization in the churches that I've led, the lack of organization oftentimes it really becomes painful. So just I wasn't necessarily an organized person in my personality type or just being able to be that kind of person. I've had to really put things in place and learn lessons the hard way sometimes to become that person. But I believe that everybody, right, can become 1% better.
Yeah.
And even if you strive just to be 1% better in that area of organization, think about how much time you would save just putting your keys in the same place. How much time you would save, right?
Yeah.
Just thinking about what you have coming up that week, just taking just a little bit of time out, thinking about what you have coming up that week and compartmentalizing that, mentally thinking through that before it actually happens so that you can already make predetermined decisions should you face certain things. I'm telling you, organization is huge and has been everything.
We can talk about that, which we're gonna bring this back up. I'm gonna put a pin there. We're gonna have to bring that back up.
Let's bring it back up.
yeah, we need to bring that back up because you got some wonderful things that when you talk about, because I love what you said about the 1%. And I'm a math guy. It doesn't seem like 1% is much, but if you look at 1% over time, it's a lot when you start to put it together. And even, man, just thinking about doing the same thing over and over again, like the simple thing you just said about putting your keys in the same place, just like how that impacts your day. Like, looking for it.
You wrestling for your keys. Now you all frustrated. Now you done started your day out all frustrated because you late. Now you risking the chance of wrecks because you got to speed up. Now you get there flustered. You're not. Oh, I'm telling you, man. I know.
yeah. I'm with you, man. That's powerful. So really, you that's an important lesson. So you've really stepped into the next question I have. Where in your opinion, what is the most critical personality trait or strength someone needs to work in your industry or thrive in your job?
Yeah, for me, I would definitely, I would say like stick to itiveness, if that's a word, and grit. I actually have a shirt that says, I started to wear it. It says, I supply the grit, he supplies the grace. I supply the grit, God supplies the grace.
Oh yeah, that's nice, man. That's
nice. Because I'm a pastor, and the startling statistics the statistics I should say are very startling when you look at how many pastors are considering a different profession, or considering a different profession, or considering a different career. So that's one part, and then even. Just on the leadership side and what I do in my life personally, you really have to have a conviction about what you do. You have to be able to, I guess, kind of drive through the ups and the down times because things don't always look like you envisioned. And you really just have to have some grit, because I've been most of my career as a pastor, most of my tenure as a pastor, and even with the businesses and things that I am personally venturing out in, most of those have to do with carving it out, meaning not necessarily being hired by someone, not taking over a church that is already established, right? So because it has something to do with carving it out, I have to have like really a grit in this field to be able to establish it, really kind of like an apostolic East spirit. To be able to dream something while it's in the nothing form. You know what I mean? So yeah, stick to it. And I really think that's anything, whether you are an employer, an employee, whatever it is you're facing right now, whatever it is that you being able to stick to it, have a conviction about what it is you're doing, really believing that God has you on that path and on that journey. And having some grit about yourself. And I think that applies universally across the board.
All right, you're gonna have to say that one more time because I'm gonna write this down. I tell my students now, if I said something, I'm gonna write. I need y'all to write. If I put it on the board, I need y'all to write it down on your paper.
Yeah.
So say it one more time.
Okay, yeah. So now you have to look up in the dictionary, because I don't even know if this is a real word, but stick to itiveness.
Okay, it's going down.
Yeah.
It's a word.
Yeah,
it's a word every day.
Listen, you need the ability to stick to it, in spite of how many people are falling off, in spite of how you feel. Because sometimes, you have this vision, you going for it, right? And then that's the day you can accomplish everything. You can move mountains, but then do you still have that same drive?
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah,
When it's a
yeah,
rainy day, when you ain't
yeah,
feeling like it. Do you
yeah,
go to the office, especially like for myself and those who don't necessarily have someone to tell them clock in and clock out? Do you
yeah,
go to the office even when you don't have to?
yeah.
Even if it's in your home, do you clock in, clock out? So stick to itiveness, drive. I mean, excuse me, grit and conviction.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I got a gentleman right now that stepped on. This is Dr. Grice, and he's a director of schools for the um, Choctaw school system. No, I said
Awesome.
it wrong, but he's definitely one that exemplifies that right there. Definitely, how you doing, Dr. Grice? And here's Pastor Hawkins. Um, that he's a pastor there in Coffeeville as well. So they're saying hello. So
Hey, I see you, Dr. Hawkins and Grayson. Good to see you all,
yeah,
man.
yeah. So my next question, because you loading, I call them life gems, hoping and encouragement for your week. You dropping a lot of life gems. So my next question is, what is transformation? You've said pretty much laid it out, but
Yeah. Yeah. Transformation, I mean, simply put, is change, right?
Mhm.
It's not like, so it's not just a different look. So when I think about transformation, right, I don't think about like a different look. I kind of think in ways of like a caterpillar going to a butterfly.
Yeah.
Like the butterfly can never go back to the caterpillar. You know what I mean? It's so transformation, and this is the reason why I think leadership and just being able to be pastoral ministry is so important to me, because it's being able to oftentimes look at someone or look at yourself in the crawling stage and say, I'm not going to settle for this
Uh-huh.
because I've been destined to fly. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
transformation is moving through, like, from a caterpillar to a butterfly, right? It is going
Yeah.
from a tadpole to a frog. You're not
Yeah.
going back to a tadpole, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a complete, I want to say, a holistic change.
So a little part that you said that I looked down because it stumped me for a second, and I never thought about it from this standpoint. You said a butterfly can, well, you said, of course, a caterpillar going to a butterfly, but a butterfly can't go back to a caterpillar.
Right.
So that I've never, that's the whole, I wrote it down on my paper. That's
Yeah.
something I need to begin to think about, because you can't. It's not, it's not possible.
No, it's not. And I know that this isn't a I know that this your audience is broad, and man, we're so just
Go
so
ahead,
thankful
sir.
that you
Go
would
ahead. Go ahead. Go
bring
ahead.
me on and things of that nature. And I know that this is not necessarily spiritual or a religious podcast. But of course, in my field, I'm a pastor, so my convictions come from or biblical convictions. They come from the
Right.
Bible.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And Jesus said something in John 10:10. He said, I came that you may have a life, and life to the full, or life more abundantly. And so even when you think about like repentance and things of that nature, it's not just saying I'm sorry, right?
Right.
But it's really having a change of mind so that you can have a change of action. So when I think about transformation, it is like that. It is making it to a certain place where you can never go back.
Right. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it's where
Yeah.
you're not settling for one stage, because you know that there is another stage that is afforded to you. And once you get there, you're not going back.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, man. Yeah, that's good, because even with that statement, I told you I put it down, and I really want to go look back, even what you just said about, what Jesus talked about. That's yeah, man. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's um and if this question, I feel like it may be a duplicate question, just let me know. Who has been your most important professional mentor?
Yeah, I probably would allude to the Dr. Darius Daniels. It's probably been the
Yeah.
most everyone isn't as fortunate to have their pastor and mentor. to be the same person. Now you have different mentors, and so they're obviously he's not the only one. There recently, I went through in 2018, leading up into 2021. I just went through a really tough season, and at that time, like at that time, Dr. Daniels' ministry was really going through the roof, and there were some things that they were transitioning through, multiple campuses and things of that nature. And there was a guy named Simeon Moultrie that I reached out to. He's in South Carolina, pastor there. And man, when I tell you him,
yeah, I remember him.
Yeah. He really, really he obviously, doctor at this point, Marcus Dudley.
Right.
Marcus, him, and just my friend Calvin Johnson, they really kind of kept my mind together outside of my family and those that are close to me like that. And so, those. So I said that just to say, it's not all. Even though you may have like this one person who has been very pivotal, obviously in my life, there are other people who really play a part in in the season of my life now, and really make sure that I'm able to be on this podcast with my right mind. You hear me?
All right, we appreciate that. Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah. So we've asked all those questions, man. Just let the listeners and the viewers know, man, what do you do? I kind of talked about it earlier. I kind of skipped over that, but what do you do?
Yeah. So what I generally do, I'm a pastor. So I've been now, I guess at this point, considered a serial church planner. That ain't always because everything has always been successful. It's because I can write a book on what not to do. I started church planning, which is basically starting churches.
Right.
I did that my first church we planted was 2007, the first official church. Prior to then, 2004, we launched a college ministry that really blew up, and that has been probably the largest congregation I've had out of any churches outside of being able to pastor under at Change Church under Dr. Daniels. But so I'm a pastor, and I'm now the senior pastor of Connect Church. We have a physical location here in Little Rock. We have an online ministry. We did have a physical location in Conway, but most of them either drive to Little Rock now or they're online until we get some more things established there. But then outside of pastoring, I've developed a LLC, a company called Leader Sharp, and it's really helping leaders sharpen their distinctive edge. And really helping leaders be all that they can be by giving them systematic thought processes and structures and systems. They really help them think through their life, their organization, or what it is that they are leading, and really help them be all that they can be. So that's what I do in a nutshell, man. Pastor and then help leaders, help organizations with their leadership. Because after working in a number of big companies, I realized I was intrigued about how much money that someone had, how much money an employer spent on an employee. I'm talking about from the hire date.
Yeah.
Especially if benefits fell right in. So how much money? And at this one particular company that I was working for, they right off the bat was $30,000. Right off the bat, I'm talking about the first day is how much they invested in an employee. So if the employee quit or for whatever reason decided to do something different before that money was returned, then basically the company lost their investment.
Right.
And what I noticed was that this company had a high turnover rate. And the reason why they had a high turnover rate was because their culture was messed up. So what I did was start developing a culture, or R5 culture, which is about being relational, relevant, things of that nature, to help companies with their retention rates, which ultimately helps their return on their investment when it comes to hiring employees, so forth and so on. So that's kind of what I do in a nutshell.
So that's big, man. That's you had my full attention on that because I think many times don't recognize how much money is invested and how
Yeah.
much money is lost when you lose that particular employee. This is Kofi Coffee. The culture was on the shaky foundation. He's Mr. Optimizer. I
Yeah.
don't. That's his nickname. He's usually helping me with this podcast, and it's just a reminder for me to get back right. So,
Yeah.
but I see his name is get back right. So yeah, it's important, and that's a whole conversation within itself too, as well. So what's one thing leadership? What's one thing in leadership that you didn't expect?
That I did not expect.
Yeah.
I guess the one thing that I didn't expect probably was so I'm in a people field, right? Meaning
Right.
I
Yeah.
pastor.
Yeah.
And then obviously everything else I do deals with nothing for the most part. It deals with people and their relational equity. I guess I did not expect. I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. I did not expect. I guess the reality that people, even though it seems like they love you, a lot of times they just love what you do.
Ooh.
They don't necessarily love you. They love what you do. So people aren't necessarily like, they don't buy into you, right? They buy into what you can do for them, right? And that was a reality. That was a hard reality, but it was a necessary reality because I expect people to be people, meaning I'm not pessimistic. I'm definitely sometimes overly optimistic. Yeah. But it helps me properly manage people and helps me have the right kind of balance that is needed in the area of leadership and especially pastoring, because I know now that all I got to do is they can love me as long as they love me and love what I'm doing. But as soon as they upset with me, they just drop me and move on. And I don't carry that on my shoulder as I would have had I not faced this kind of reality.
Ooh, let me go. He already put up there the wow. I got the wow too because, ooh, yeah, we gotta have a segue on that one, man. Even it's just on that part right there.
Yeah,
that'll save a lot of that'll save a lot. That'll save a lot of lives right there, brother.
So. Yeah, man, and it really will help perspective. Because we talked about this at the top of the podcast, and that was like having that stick to itiveness, right? And we talked about like continue to drive, and sometimes like especially in this field or in any field that you are like the leader and oftentimes like the head person, you're pouring into everybody else, but you got to have somebody on the outside pour into you. I really think that without facing this reality, that can cause your drive, cause all of that stick-to-itiveness, and even cause you to question your conviction often without facing that reality. Like a person who is in the medical field, they have to face the reality that people are only going to come to them when they're hurt. And they're not going to see them again. They're not going to get a banner necessarily placed across their Facebook, their Facebook banner and all of that this person did whatever. No, that person has to be an ambulance driver, have to be able to do CPR and try to bring someone back to life so that they can live a life that they were destined to live without. And you know what? Drop them off at the hospital, get back in the ambulance, and do it all over again without ever getting a thank you or knowing the outcome of what's going to happen with that person's life. And in order to be able to do that, you just really have to face that reality that people only call an ambulance when they need help.
All right, let me get myself together because you first of all as that analogy. Woo, right, we have no other purpose for a doctor unless we sack.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's good stuff. Yeah. And Here, even though insurance will pay for the
Yeah, the insurance will pay for the wilderness. Oh man,
that's good, man. That's good because that, like you said, that helps us with perspective.
yeah,
Definitely, because sometimes our perspective can be off. Yeah,
absolutely.
it's off. So, what's one common myth about your job or field of expertise? What's a myth?
Yeah, I would say a myth is that you can do this with just will and not skill. Yeah, because again, a lot of times pastors feel like, and I know there's some, I know I'm about to, this will make a lot of pastors upset, but you need more than will. Yeah, you need skill. Like you need more than just the Bible and the conviction of the Holy Spirit. Like you need a study habit.
Yeah.
The Bible, even the scriptures teach us that it takes a wise man to win souls, right? So you have to think critically. You have to think systematically, so forth and so on. So you need more than just will. We live in a time now where you're not going to preach your congregation in if you're going to grow a church, which you should want to grow, because you should want to reach as many people as possible for the sake of that message. It's not just going to happen just with will alone. And even you need more than just will, so that on days you don't have that will, your skill sets and the things you have put in place because of those skill sets, they help you get past over the hump of those days that you just don't feel like you had a will. And even as relates to leadership, like you don't just raise people up from good quotes and good advice, right? If I was going to say, I'm going to take my son from a 10-year-old, from what he does right now, and by the time he gets to high school, like him thinking about being a linebacker or something like that nature, that would take, I would have to be have to be structured, and I would have to think really methodically on the steps I would take him through in order to get there.
All right, this podcast is turned into a master class. I was just letting everybody know that this is transformed into a master class. All right. So your people,
it's been good, man.
You better be on now, because I think I'm gonna close this one out. Y'all have to get to this. Let's check your brother out, and that's important. Yeah, that's important. So, what's something I didn't ask that you would like to share?
Well, I think you pretty much have asked everything, man, that I would like to share. Yeah, I just think, well, I would just say, I've already alluded to this, but basically, I think if there's ever been a time now to go for it, to be all that you can be, to level up as a leader that you can be, to really find out, get a mentor or get somebody in your life that can start pulling out these gems and some of these abilities that are lying dormant. Now is that time. And so I think that if there was anything that I wanted to share, it was like, take your time seriously and work as, in a sense, while there's still a day, meaning work while you still have an opportunity, so that you can reap a harvest from the seeds that you sow today.
Absolutely. So 3 words you want to leave with the viewers.
Well, the first one will be time. Yeah. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, teach us how to number our days. So time, meaning like, don't just don't be flippant, right? With your time. Know that like this time is something that's afforded to us every day, yet it's something that we'll never get back. We'll never get this second back. It's gone. So time, right? Really having a conviction on your days. And I think the other one would be hunger. You heard this before. You heard that your attitude determines your altitude, right?
Right. Yeah.
And while I absolutely believe that is true, I think it's as equally important to understand it's not just your attitude, it's your appetite. It's not just it's not just attitude that determines your altitude, it's your appetite. How hungry are you? When I was in high school, there were some people who didn't necessarily who did not eat unless they got to the school. So they didn't get there on time and early because they loved the class and loved learning. They got there on time and early because they wanted to make sure that they ate. And your hunger, your drive for what it is you're trying to accomplish, oftentimes will determine your actions. And then faith, just really believing in what you are trying to do, believing that it's possible, and going forward.
Absolutely, man. You dropped some more stuff on me, man. Look, y'all think if you're listening to this on the podcast, you want to connect with Dr. Charles Simmons, but also you're hearing this, what he's the gems he's dropping. I want you to be aware of, and you go ahead, Pastor Simmons. Tell us about what you have coming up.
Yeah, man, we have this opportunity on November the 12th here in Little Rock, Arkansas, doing something called Master Your Week. You know, every week, each one, every last one of us, we are afforded 168 hours. Yet, oftentimes we feel like we still don't have enough time. So, how do some people who get the same amount of hours that each one of us is afforded, how do they accomplish everything that they are trying to accomplish and still have time to travel, still have time with family and things of that nature? So I'm doing something called Master Your Week, and that's really teaching you some time management skills, not just time management, right? Because time management is about putting your structure, your system together. But then there's energy management, meaning like when is the best time to do this or the best time to do that for you versus for me. So teaching some time management and energy management skills, and that's ultimately going to help you become more productive, help you decrease your stress, and increase your energy, help you with your daily focus, so forth and so on. So that's going to be November the 12th right here in Little Rock at 10 o'clock a.m. We're just going to go from 10 to 2. And it's going to be when you leave, those who register for that, when they leave from there, they're going to be able to leave with the system and something that's really going to help them get some of their time back and have more energy.
Awesome, man. Yeah, if you're on this, you already heard. He's talked about, having systems in place. He's talked about having mentors. He's talking about your perspective. He's just laid several things out. As you look at this, this mastering your week, I think is definitely important. He's alluded to some of the things. I don't know what the master class is in depth, but I've heard some things in it that have pointed to this particular class. Pastor Simmons, I appreciate you being on. You've helped me as I'm sitting here listening. And I'm still thinking about, hiding this and just putting these clips out here because they're worth listening to our ears. It's worth it. So,
well, yeah, man, I appreciate you. Thank you and your team just for allowing me to be on your podcast, Transforming Lives, man. I'm excited about what you're doing and excited about what you're going to do and the lives you're going to impact.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to put you in the background and we're going to close this thing out. So if you can hold on. All right. So again, this stuff was dynamic. I'm sitting there listening. I'm writing down notes. I'm going through what's going to happen moving forward. It's encouraged me. So I'm pretty excited as you're listening to this. It has encouraged you. So definitely share this with a friend as you're listening to Transforming Lives. And Transforming Lives is just, we're talking to genuine people with real lives. Transformation doesn't happen in a day. I like what Dr. Simmons talked about, this 1%, getting 1% better, just moving forward. That's what it's about, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you listening to this podcast and listening to this live stream. And I'm sure something that was said today that will be helpful for you moving forward. Let us know. Drop a comment. Let us know what's happening. Y'all have a great one. Peace.